Today is the second day our scientific research institute, the International Fate-Analysis Community Delegation, officially visiting the Szondi-Institut and studying the heritage that's left in the 21st century by the great scientist Leopold Szondi. Good afternoon, Mr. Maltsev. I know that you are in Zurich for now, and you had quite a significant meeting at the Szondi-Institut. Mr. Maltsev, I have a big favor to ask you. Could you tell our audience, please, what is the Szondi-Institut? What is the significance of this meeting? Because not everyone knows it. As far as I know, there are only two of Szondi-Institutes in the world. One of them is located in Odessa, the Szondi-Institut, which you represent. In fact, for Odessa and Ukraine, such trip is a sensation. The fact is that the Szondi-Institut slowly existed a few years ago up to recent times only in Zurich, where the great scientist Leopold Szondi lived and worked. He was also buried in Zurich. His contributions to science is that he is one of the three elephants on which the whole psychology stands today. As they say, there were Freud, Jung and Szondi, three people who essentially are the foundation of today's psychology. I know that you went to Zurich with Mr. Vigdorchik. Yes, that's right. This is my teacher in the area of fate analysis and fate psychology. Of course, I went with him, and together we held negotiations with Professor Juttner on interaction between two institutes. On his Facebook, he wrote that they were coming to this meeting for 22 years. Could you please explain us why so? The fact is that such a meeting became possible today because the institute was established. However, as Professor Juttner said, we have a problem with groups. We have people who study. However, in general, everything was in correspondence mode. There was no person who could organize it all. The scientists are such kind people who require organizations, that is, someone has to organize them. Certainly there was no such manage up to that moment. So today Odessa receives the historical countdown of the development and continuation of the Szondi work in your face. I would say Odessa became number one in psychology science. After this historic trip, it became the alma mater of psychology in the CIS countries today. I read in your Facebook message you wrote that you've been coming to this meeting for 22 years. Yes, I have been waiting for it for 22 years. It's a historical moment in which the alma mater of Szondi and what he has created met, and now the standards passes from the one hand to another. Owing to what fact it has become possible? What does this meeting mean for you? Of course, this was possible only thanks to Mr. Oleg Maltsev, who has managed to organize and breathe life into the movement itself. I have a little knowledge on fate psychology, but as far as it becomes clear to me, it's the key to the mental health of the nation. I think it is all about whether a person can resist his fate or not, whether he can manage it or not. Szondi has devoted many years of his life to the human fate research. Therefore, he has quite powerful tools, both diagnostic and implementation tools, so that people could live on the basis of their own choice, not on the basis of an imposed fate. Fate psychology is the key to a normal life, when a person lives normally as a human. If he doesn't have all this knowledge, then he drags out his miserable existence. If all people in this state live normally, then this state is considered advantageous. If people in this state live badly, this state is considered disadvantageous. I'd like to see my state where live I, Ukraine, became a prosperous country for Europe, America, and other countries all over the world. It turns out that it's a key meeting for the development of psychology in Ukraine, CIS, and the world. Yes, I think so, because of the fact that today the psychology is quite in a sad state in the CIS. The American and Euro-American techniques, which in general have nothing to do with the results of activity, came on the market today. I would say these techniques are much more focused on the ideology instead of the science development and continuing researches. So now we are, being scientists, will do everything to keep the science to the results of activity came on the market today. I would say this technique probably to justify yourself, or you take the fundamental direction of psychology and study it to get some results in your life and activity, that is to deal with any task that you face. Tell me please briefly, what is the significance of such science as fate psychology and fate analysis in human life? Fate psychology and fate analysis for the individual show that it wants to realize his ancestor, what aspirations are really embodied in him, and show it what generic destiny written. And he may either accept and go with his fate stream, or as Szondi said, to break open the limits of heredity and choose a free fate. That is, someone is satisfied with an imposed fate, and someone is not satisfied and goes away from an imposed fate. As it is known, Szondi said that fate is being realized in 5 directions. They are the choice of the beloved object, choice of profession, choice of friends, choice of the disease, and the way of death. When a person understands and knows what is ordained for him, he can submit it or change it. This is one of the directions specifically related to the individual. However, at the same time, he understands what he is guided by, choosing one or another partner, friend, circle, and profession. In case he chooses a profession that doesn't meet his natural inclinations, he may succeed in this field, but he will be unhappy. That is, it turns out in the dark forest of life, a person gets a landmark, what to do, and he can find a way out and live the life he wants to live. Yes, that in the will of a person, how much his ego is developed and how a guide helped him in this regard. I would say that is external or internal help, that is mobilized its resolves. That's the way he can go through life. In fact, he chooses his fate under the favorable circumstances. If people are able to understand and accept it, then they are able to change their lives, to live a free fate, achieve what they need, get a suitable quality of life, and be successful on these basics. As it turns out, it's the key to a normal human life. Yes, that the knowledge of your own fate key, and you can make conscious choice. If it is possible, please lift the veil a little bit. How will the interaction of Odessa and Zurich in the frame of cooperation with the Szondi-Institut look like? Yes, it is possible. The first thing that was said is that Mr. Hutton would work for a year and then he would retire, and we have to raise the standard of the fate psychology in the world and carry it by ourselves. During this time, Mr. Hutton will do everything so that we were as much trained as possible for the professional carrying this standard. That's the first thing. Also, we plan the publication of books, organizations of seminars on fate psychology in Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, and other CIS countries for the Russian-speaking population. I think we will translate some more books of the Institute scientists. There are some very interesting books appeared recently and related to the comparison. For example, the teaching of Szondi and music. There are professional composers and scholars from the conservatory who carried rather serious scientific research in the field of relation between the fate psychology and music and other areas of human life and activity. Therefore, all of these books are in German and we will try to publish them in Russian and make them available. Next, we plan to organize joint conferences, seminars and scientific meetings. I think it's not far from off due to the fact that we have already agreed to plan together the next year work in December. That is, the institutions begin to operate consortantly with each other. And since no one at Szondi-Institut understands either marketing, not management, then I will lead the strategy and tactics of promotion and implementation of fate analysis and fate psychology in Ukraine and Europe. Could you tell us briefly, how will the practical activity be expressed? How can we see it? The practical activity will be expressed by the further development, and to say it in the Psycho-diagnostics language, by the continuation of standardization of these methods, development of theoretical directions, translating literature and writing comments to it. In other words, we will make the Szondi theory understandable not only to a limited circle of people, but also to other people. As far as I know, there are only two institutions existing in the world today, in Odessa and in Zurich. We thought it was indeed the case, but it turned out the institute exists only in Odessa, because today the Szondi-Institut in Zurich is much more a keeper of traditions. They keep the background. And indeed, in the words of Mr. Oleg Maltsev, the institute where only a secretary operates is not an institute. It's a museum of fun, call it as you like, but it's not the institute due to the fact that scientific activity is almost non-existent there, while the task of the Scientific Research Institute is to promote researches into theory and methods of the depth psychology, particularly fate analysis. Therefore, we do believe that there is only one institute located in Odessa. So, in the whole world, there are experts only in Odessa, which will develop this science in the future. Yes, that's the way the situation is. Today is a great day, the actual continuation of the activities in the field of fate analysis, because we came at the Szondi-Institut on our own initiative, and so it's sufficiently sad state. You know perfectly well that the institute can't consist of one operating secretary and building. The institute consists of professors, people who work in the academic plan with the aim of developing theory which Leopold Szondi has laid and whose grave we are visiting now. I was lucky in my life more than all the rest. I met on my way a specialist in the field, my teacher, Mr. Mikhail Vigdorchik, who brought me here to Szondi's grave as an act of the beginning of our joint activities with the Szondi-Institut. I think that since Szondi-Institut can't carry out further research in the field of fate analysis, fate therapy and fate psychology, then there is another institute located in the city of Odessa. This institute has to take on these functions and continue the head institute's activities, which unfortunately is not able to cope with this function today. Thank you so much. If there is a possibility to make interview about the results of this meeting, I will be grateful to you. I think when I arrive to Munich, we can do the next overall interview about what happened, what plans we have, and what we will do the next year in order the fate psychology and depth psychology found a professional form in Ukraine.